welcome to Train Tuesday. I'm your host, Jim Wiggin, and so glad to have you on board. Well, a little bit of a different scenery here tonight. Not quite the studio I normally do, but we're going to be talking HO tonight. We're going to be talking Athearn Roundhouse, 50-foot flat cars, and then we're going to do something a little different tonight. We're going to talk about things that are in stock at your dealer right now and go through a presentation on that. Now, if you're joining us live tonight, I want to thank you for joining us. We'll do some shout outs here in a second. And if you are watching us on YouTube, thank you so much. If you like the content that you see delivered to you on a weekly basis, please do us a favor at Athearn. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video like this drops into your feed. And do comment. I try to answer as many comments as possible. And we always like to hear from our customers. Let's see who's joining us here tonight. I see Greg has joined us. Ronald, DG Model Works, is in the house. Jason is here. Ronald, Charles Woods, Ronald, Steve, Anthony, NSWLE is also here. Donnie has joined us. BN Green 1970 and Steve Goring's Trains and Model Railroading, all the way from the Illinois terminal. Thank you for joining us. We are going to be talking HO scale tonight. We're going to be talking about pre-orders and also what's in stock at your dealer right now. Let's do one more round of shout outs and then we'll get started. Grandpa Rails has joined us. Raymond has joined us. Mr. Lloyd Marshall is here. Grandpa Rails and Lloyd with another request for Mack Trucks. Licensing. Can you hear me? It's all about licensing. Michael Nemechek is here, as well as Terry Poole and Randall. And are you a train man too? So without further ado, let's get started. We're going to be talking about some Athearn Roundhouse tonight. And we're going to be talking specifically about flat cars. Now, the model that you see on your screen here, this is R&D 14512. This is from a previous run. It's been a little bit. You might still be able to find this somewhere at your local hobby shop or maybe online. But we're kind of using this as a way for you to see what the model is before we talk about what is available for pre-order for the month of February. Now, all the roads that we're going to be talking about tonight are available in 2 road numbers. So everything you see there is available in 2 road numbers each. Let's get started with a little background as far as dates and eras in which these cars operated in. We're going to start at the top with the New Haven. Again, 2 road numbers here. And this is a 1959 era flat car. If you're a modeler of the 50s into the 60s, this definitely will fit. However, if you're a fan of the Northeast in the 1970s, consider the Reading car there. 1971 on up was appropriate for the paint scheme on the Reading car. 2 road numbers available as well. Going to the Midwest and to 1959 on up, we've got the Milwaukee Road, also available in 2 road numbers. And then at the bottom of your screen, you'll see that bright red Great Northern. That is available in 2 road numbers. This is specifically for 1963 and up. Now we have a few more cars to offer in this run. Starting at the top, and no, I had nothing to do with this, but the Boston and Maine, the McGinnis era has started. It's 1957, and this would go throughout the 1950s, 1960s, and well into the 70s and 80s. Boston and Maine's also going to have 2 road numbers. U.S. Army is there in the middle. This is a 1953 car. 2 road numbers available for USAX. And then finally, sticking with the military theme, if you will, we've got the U.S. Department of Defense. This is a 1970s era car. And we're going to also offer 2 road numbers for the Department of Defense. Now, these are Roundhouse, so they're not going to have the same features and details as an Athearn Genesis or even an Athearn. However, some of the things that you will see, a separate brake wheel, of course. They will still have body-mounted McHenry scale knuckle couplers. You're also going to have nice metal machined wheels. Of course, they are weighted for optimum performance. And the minimum radius on these cars, even if you've got a small HO scale layout, is 18 inches. So these are nice little versatile cars. Maybe you're into operations and you need something before your Genesis flat car comes in. You can definitely add these to your roster and not have to worry about all those subtle details that get broken. And again, guys from the modular era, if you're into a modular type scene, these are perfect for exhibition because you don't have to worry about all those small detail parts getting lost in transport. So remember, you have gotten until Friday, February 28th, 2025 to place your pre-orders on this model. And you've just got, well, you know what? That's only about 2 weeks away. So you might want to talk to your dealer about getting these. They're really versatile cars. They work out really well. So let's see, any questions on the flat cars? I'm going to go here and look at my comment screen down below. Charles Woods likes the Great Northern car. Let's see what else we've got here for questions. No real questions here. A lot of folks just checking in. The UP car looks nice. Yes, I would agree. That is a nice looking car. Are you a train man too? Says, I need a few of the Milwaukee versions for my car float operations. There you go. Michael Smith, good question. Would you consider military vehicles loads similar to Rapido for these flat cars? Stay tuned. I know something that you don't know. Yeah, stay tuned. We're working on something. It's going to come out here really, really soon. Boston and Maine car looks cool. Yep, that is actually based on an actual Boston and Maine car. That was how they appeared. Ben says, I missed the road names. What do they come in? Well, you can do a couple of things. You can back up this program and see, or you can hit the link in the video description below. It will take you right to athearn.com. It will take you to the PDF, and you can see for yourself what roads we're offering. Again, we're going to offer 2 road numbers per road. So hopefully that helps you out. Let's see. Yes, Thomas, you did see Reading flat cars. And yes, it is pronounced Reading. As a East Coast man, I know how to pronounce Reading. It's not the other word. All right. Let's see. Jason writes in and says, Jim, I'll have lumber on the Reading being sent to the Truesville Southern. Very cool. See, he's already got operations figured out. So we're going to do something a little different tonight. And depending on what you, our customers, think, we might be changing the format of Train Tuesday. We've done some surveys recently and saw that a lot of folks want to know what's coming out, what's going to be here. And so we're going to try this as an experiment. And we're going to start with the all-new tooled up GP38-2. It's an Athearn Genesis. You can see I've got one behind me. It's the Norfolk Southern, which was a former Conrail unit. And let's talk about these in detail. Let's not just show them to you, but let's talk about them in depth. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with Norfolk Southern. Now, like I said, these are former Conrail units. So after the split of Conrail back in 1999, both CSX and Norfolk Southern received these locomotives. They received these 38-2s as part of the breakup deal. Now, Norfolk Southern began to patch them into their number series, but some also received full repaints while keeping their Conrail features. And it's kind of neat because they're Norfolk Southern, but any Conrail guy worth his salt will know some of the spotting features. And that's going to include the small EMD front plow, the front and rear ditch lights, the cab signal box. That's a big giveaway for a Conrail unit. And another unique features were the original installed class lights on both ends when most railroads had removed theirs. Now, it's an important note to know that Conrail never called those classification lights. They actually called those marker lights. When they were on Conrail, they would shine red, and they were for that intended purpose. They were marker lights. You can read more about it at the Conrail Historical Society online. But for anybody that wants to know, there is a difference between classification lights and marker lights. And in this case, Conrail called them marker lights. They were just red. Now, I am happy to say that the marker lights on the former Conrail units do light up. You can't really tell but the one behind me does have its marker lights on. However, they are not red. They are clear, or what they're called in the railroad world, lunar. Now let's talk about in detail the three that we're offering in this run. We've got three former Conrail units that we're going to be offering, and these are available right now. They've already shipped from Athearn, so they're available at your local hobby shop. If you pre-ordered them, you're probably already enjoying them. We're going to start at the top with 5280. Now, 5280 was formerly Conrail 8077. It was a mid-phase GP38-2 with wire grills. It also had drop steps on both ends, and if you look carefully, you can see the squared paper air filter box. It does have what was common for Conrail, the rear weed cutter plow. And this one has 4-stack exhaust. It also, if you look at the trucks, they are Blomberg M trucks. Now let's look at 5295. It's got some subtle differences, but again, former Conrail unit here. This is former Conrail 8100. It too is a mid-phase with wire grills, drop steps on both ends, squared paper air filter box, but this one has the standard 2-stack exhaust, and it too has Blomberg M trucks. Then finally, we've got Norfolk Southern number 5334. This is former Conrail unit 8166. It is a later phase GP38-2. It has the corrugated grills and the front anti-climber and rear drop step, rear weed cutter plow, angled paper air filter box, and flush 2-stack exhaust. This one, however, has Blomberg B trucks. Now, features on all three of these, which run pretty much the same, but are spotting features. These are going to have lighted class lights, or in this case, marker lights. These do have lighted number boards. They're all going to have the Leslie 3-chime, which sound, in my opinion, amazing. Forward and rear ditch lights, per the practice, short fuel tank, Sinclair antenna, and a small front EMD plow. So pretty cool. I know some Conrail guys are a little upset we didn't do Conrail, but this is kind of a unique era. And again, this is 2000s era, early 2000s. So right after the split of Conrail. Now, we're not done with Conrail locomotives or former Conrail locomotives. We've got some other ones. We've got some EMD lease. These are later 1990s, some of them into the mid-90s. So after their initial lease expired, many of the Conrail GP38-2s were returned to EMD, which in turn leased them back to other railroads. Now, while quite a few were simply patched, a batch got the full EMD lease paint. And during the 1990s, they could be found on just about any railroad. Now, number 788 that we've got pictured here was painted in a really unique Operation Lifesaver paint scheme. And this is just one of the 3 locomotives that we're offering in this current release that's available right now. Let's show all 3 and let's talk about them. So again, 1990s era, and the great thing about EMD lease is, well, you can run it on just about any railroad as long as it fits your era. So 90s modelers, here's some added motive power for you. So the first one is number 788. This is former Conrail number 7988, and it's a mid-phase GP38-2 with wire grills. It does have that really cool Operation Lifesaver paint scheme. It does have a Leslie 3-chime horn, as well as a front small EMD plow and the rear weed cutter plow as well. Rather unique paint scheme, really stands out. It's probably going to be one of my favorites in the group. Moving along into the middle, you'll see number 813 in the more traditional paint scheme. This is former Conrail unit number 8013. It too is a mid-phase with the wire grills. It has a 4-stack exhaust, Nathan 3-chime horn, front small EMD plow. That rear also has the weed cutter plow. And this one has black, both fuel and air tanks. And if you notice carefully, the cab numbers are really small compared to 825. 825 similar. 825 is former Conrail 8025. It too is a mid-phase. It has the wire grills, the Nathan 3-chime front three-chime horn, the front weed cutter plow. This has maroon fuel and air tanks, so a little bit different from 813, and the large cab numbers, which is pretty obvious, and named the Kristen. Now, I don't know why it was named that, but that's what our researchers found when they put these together. And these would be perfect for anybody that's modeling 1990s and you need some power. Interesting note about these EMDX units, they were built originally as Penn Central units. So they have the lighted class lights or marker lights, lighted number boards, correct horn per road number, that's based on research, short fuel tank, and of course, Sinclair antennas. Really nice. And again, if there's a road that we didn't offer, but you're a modeler of the 90s, you can definitely add these to your roster as these saw service everywhere. Let's go to the circle cross era of BNSF. This is an era I remember fondly. We're talking late 1990s into the early 2000s. Now, once the Burlington Northern and Santa Fe railroads merged in 1996, several new paint schemes were attempted, including variations of the Superfleet as well as Great Northern paint schemes. Now, after some deliberation, BNSF 2099 was repainted in 1996 into what would be known as the Heritage 1 scheme. Being that it was the unit painted, it exhibited a major difference from later repaints in that it had silver side frames and underframe, where future units would have the dark green. Other than the Dash 9s, the Heritage 1s would have the green underframes, like you see here on 2077 or 2277. Now we're offering three different versions, and they kind of vary. There's some neat differences. Let's talk about those differences. So here's the three that we're offering. So at the top of your screen, you've got 2081. This is an early body or an early phase GP38-2. Look carefully and you'll see this has got wide fans. You see the spacing? This one has the headlight on the cab. Then we look at 2099. It's also an early body, but if you look closely, the fans are grouped closer together. This one also has a headlight on the cab, and this is the one with the silver underframe. It's kind of a one-off. And then finally, we've got 2277. Again, early body, close fans. However, this one has the headlight on the nose. It was a really interesting time for BNSF because they had their 38-2s from all over. Mainly Burlington Northern, Santa Fe, and of course Frisco, and wherever else. So they had a wide arrangement of looks and features. Now, pretty much common for these three BNSF locomotives is they're going to have the 4-stack exhaust. They're also going to have small and large Sinclair antennas, etched cab side mirrors, and they're all going to have the 3,600-gallon fuel tank, and they will all have Blomberg M trucks. So again, if you're a fan of the late 90s into the 2000s BNSF, you're going to want to take a look at these. Let's move on to Union Pacific. We're going to go back to the 1980s. This is really a cool era for the Union Pacific. The folks that are a fan of the red sill, of course, the red sill, it would be many years before they would switch over to the yellow sill. And units just looked a little bit differently. Let's talk about them real quick. Union Pacific's initial batch, a GP38-2, came in 1974, and it was for 40 units. They were units number 2000 to 2039, and they ushered in a new batch of road switchers for the Union Pacific. This first order included the common regular EMD steps, beacon, canvas-style sunshades, and large front EMD plow. Now, Union Pacific went back to the following year and ordered 20 more. The second batch had switcher steps, which gave them a distinct different look, and by the late 1970s, UP started to adopt a larger font name on the sides of their locomotives. One of the most notable detail changes was the horn being moved to the front of the roof of the cab and the piping conduit running along the roof of the vent. Now, we've added this feature, including Union Pacific's modified coupler levers on both ends and the pilot-mounted lifting lugs. These were originally assigned to the Pacific Northwest, but they could also be found all over the system. Most of these are still earning revenue keep for Union Pacific today. So let's talk about the 3 units that we're offering for sale right now and some of the neat spotting features. We're going to start at the top of your screen with 2016. Now, 2016 is a 1980s repaint, so it has a larger lettering along the hood, numbers on the cab, and this one has the regular EMD steps. 2022 is a 1980s repaint, also featuring the larger lettering and numbers along the hood. This one has the UP shield on the cab, and this one also has regular EMD steps. And then finally, we've got 2047. Again, 1980s repaint, larger lettering and numbers along the hood, UP shield on the cab. This one, however, has the switcher style EMD steps. Now, some new tooling have gone into these Union Pacific 1980s locomotives, including newly tooled roof conduit and coupler levers. That's one of the biggest things that you're going to notice on these. You'll see that conduit, and it looks really good. These will have lighted class numbers, class lights and lighted number boards. They will have a Leslie 3-chime horn, xenon beacon. That's going to work if you get the Tsunami 2 version, and the large fuel tank. Also, you're going to have the firecracker antenna and truck-mounted re-railers. These are really nice looking units. They look really good. We had a lot of positive comments on these when we had these on display at Amherst. Well, here's one for you, the Chehalis Western. This is a 1981 paint scheme. This is really cool. Chehalis Western. It was a Weyerhaeuser-owned Class 3 short line that was based out of Chehalis, Washington. The railroad originally ran from Chehalis to Ruth, Washington, which was once Milwaukee Road trackage. Now, the primary commodity was logs and other wood products. They purchased 4 new GP38-2s from EMD back in 1981. Now, unfortunately, operations ceased in 1992, and the locos were sold off for further service on the Golden Triangle Railroad and the Queen and Eastern Railroad. We're offering 2 road numbers of this sharp-looking locomotive, 810 and 817, which we've got right here. Now, 810 and 817, they are modeled as they appeared new from EMD in 1981. And they have features such as the lighted class lights, lighted number boards. These have the Leslie 5-chime horn, and you have dual xenon beacons, again, available with the Tsunami 2 decoder. These have a small fuel tank. They also have weed cutter front plows, late phase body with Q fans. These have the corrugated grills, and these have an 88-inch nose. These are great looking models. They are definitely, if you didn't pre-order one of these, you might want to get online or on the phone with your dealer now, because they're probably going to go very quickly. Next, Milwaukee Road. This is a cool release because there was some more new tooling done with this as well. Now, in the early 1970s, the Milwaukee Road found that it needed to replace their aging fleet of low horsepower switching units due to the rising costs of maintenance. They intended to replace them with GP9s, but they needed replacements for the GP9s in local service, so they purchased 2 groups of the new EMD GP38-2s. Now, the first group, numbers 350 to 355, were built in June of 1973 without dynamic brakes. The second group came in the fall of 1974 with dynamic brakes and were assigned to their Western extension until it was embargoed and then abandoned in 1980. And we're offering 3 different units for Milwaukee Road, and there's some differences here that we're going to talk about. So let's start. We've got number 350. It's a non-dynamic version. This is how it appeared from 1973 to 1978. It's got the beacon, the early cut levers, and no notch pilots. Right next to it is number 354. This is also from 1973 to 1978. It also is a non-dynamic. It has the beacon, the early cut levers, and no notch pilot. So 350, 354, buy them both if you're modeling from 73 to 78, and they're virtually identical. But then we get to 363, and now we're in 1978 to 1986, some slight and subtle differences. This has the billboard style lettering. It does have dynamic brake hatch. It still has its beacon, late coupler cut levers, and a notched pilot. Now, some of the things that is new tooling is the new solid, no chains front and rear handrails. If you've seen our models before, you'll notice that there's some chain detail on the front and rear handrails. This is the first time we've offered it without that detail. This is based on the Milwaukee Road prototype. These are also going to have the 1,700-gallon fuel tank. They have beacons where appropriate to the prototype. They have the all-weather cab windows, cab vents, front and rear snowplows, and roof-mounted prime electric bell. Very Milwaukee Road for you. So there you have it. Some great models, and the good news is they're available now. So you can see your Athearn dealer and walk into your shop or go to your computer online and place your orders. These are all available now. And remember, this is all new tooling. So it has lighted number boards and class lights where applicable. So there you are. That's what I've got for you. Let's see if we got some time for some questions. I'm going to look down in here and see what kind of questions we have. Let me go back a little bit in case somebody was asking questions. ECRN fan says, Iowa Interstate GP38-2s. I'm going to say it once. I'm going to say it again. I've said it a million times. Best place for road suggestions or new product suggestions is, get your pen out. It's Athearn-product suggestions at athearn.com. Again, that's Athearn-product suggestions at athearn.com. And you can send that in there. Doesn't mean we're going to make it, though. Don't think that just because you send us an email, we're going to make it. Let's see. Railfan1995 says, Jim, can you please update the commuter cars to DCC sounds, please? I don't have the capability to do that. Fortunately, product development would. I don't know if that's in the plans or not. It might be, and I just don't know it, but it's probably something that they'll look into in the future. Let's see what other questions we have. Randall says, BNSF GP38-2s look great, Jim. Lots of good memories right there. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I got the Railfan, a lot of early BNSF in northern and central Illinois back in the day. And yep, a lot of cool stuff. Let's see what else we've got here. Harold says, let me find a new dealer that has all the Athearn trains I've missed, all of these goodies. Yeah, well, one of the things you want to remember, though, too, is these are brand new. They just started shipping right after we got back from Amherst. So they're new. They're brand new. I wanted to get these in front of you so that you knew that they were here. Dealers have probably had them for maybe a week, maybe two. It's kind of hard to, it's been a blur since I got back from Springfield. But check your major online retailers, or if you're fortunate like me to have a local hobby shop, you can definitely check that out as well. Let's see what else we've got here in the comments section. BN Green 1970 says, Jim, mainly model BN in the 70s, but I have portions of UP and Milwaukee branches. Thanks for finally doing the Milwaukee 38s with dynamics. UPS says my package from Lombard should be here tomorrow. Well, that's cool. So it sounds like you've got some Milwaukee Road stuff. Lombard is one of our big dealers. So we appreciate you supporting our dealer network. Let's see. Christopher wants to know, did you get some upgrades? The audio sounds a lot better. Well, thank you for letting me know, because that was kind of an experiment as well tonight. I'm using a slightly different system than I've used in the past. I'm going through a different camera setup and a different microphone setup. So I appreciate that feedback. That's good. If you guys like this format, let us know in the comments. And we're probably going to start switching things up. A lot of you guys want to know what's available in your hobby shops right now. So we're going to start doing that. Here's a question. Stephanie wants to know, when will the F59 PHI locomotives be available? So I get that question a lot, and it looks like with the current tracking and what the factory is telling us, it looks like we should be getting those around May. It may be a little earlier, but it should be about May or so. So let's see. Now, thank you everyone for the comments on the audio. That makes my job a lot easier. It's like, hey, you know what? If this is working for you, then we definitely want to keep doing it. We want to make sure this is information that you can use and you can hear it well. Ronald with a good comment, and it could be a question. It would be great to offer both Tsunami and Blue Nami. It's something that we're looking into. We don't have anything firm yet that we've made decisions for. There's a lot to consider. Cost, of course, is one of them. There's also some physical limitations depending on the locomotives that they go into, but we're not going to say no to it. We're looking into possibilities. Of course, we've got a great working relationship with Soundtracks, so it's possible. So right now, we're looking into it, but we don't have any set answers on that yet. Let's see. David wants to know, any chance of a return of made in USA blue boxes? Well, there's always a possibility of something being made in the United States again. Whether or not it'll be blue box, that I can't really answer. I don't think so. Our corporate owners, Horizon, is a global company, so we have connections throughout the world, not just overseas, but also in England, Germany. And we already, Horizon has invested a lot of money in some domestic production for some of their RC products. There is a possibility in the future we may be doing more Athearn stuff domestically, but it's too soon to say, really. We're just kind of looking into that. As far as the kits, we kind of offer kits already in a slightly different way. We have some undecorated models that we offer. Our 60-foot containers, which are available now, those are undecorated, and as such, they come basically as a kit. The same can be said for our undecorated locomotives, the SD40s, the SW1200s. Those come with all of the detail parts for you to make those specific locomotives. There's quite a few options in those, so you might as well call them kits. But good question. Hopefully that answers it. Greg wants to know, does Athearn have any plans to release any former bicentennial units to celebrate our centennial? Yeah, sorry, it's the end of the day. It's been a long day. Anniversary next year. I think so. I think you'll see something. It's a big deal. So we're gonna probably be doing some neat stuff. Terry says, miss your Boston and Maine logo light. Yeah, don't worry, it's not gone. If we talk N scale, we'll do the show from the N scale side of the studio. Since I had HO tonight, I wanted to use the HO layout. And this is not the permanent layout, by the way. The permanent layout that I'm working on is in the background. This is a small layout I put together just to take the shows and show folks the new stuff that we've got. Wade, I do not have any updates on the Challenger right now. We're hoping that PD has been working with the factory. Hopefully we'll get some updates on that model shortly. I don't have anything for you right now, though, unfortunately. Steve, good question. Saw samples at Amherst. What's the new ETA for the Surfliners? So the last I had heard is we should be seeing some newer samples here soon. The samples that John had at the show were relatively old. They were kind of beat up because they've been many places. And that's just the role of a product development, a sample. They're testing all different types of things. So they tend to get beat up. I'm hoping that he should have something soon. And as soon as he does, he's promised me pictures and we're going to put them online so you guys can see them. As far as an ETA, we're still trying to make sure that they get done by this year. So keep track of our social media. We'll be posting on there. Updates on SD38s. The last I knew, it's going to be about October, November. We should start seeing those. Let's see what else we've got. Surfliner updates. Stephanie, hopefully you heard that answer. We're still pushing to get those in the end of the year. Let's see what else we've got. Quite a few questions here by Terry, so I want to answer them. Jim, any updates about the ISO tank chassis and containers, as well as the NS Heritage SD70 ACES update? So yeah, first of all, the tank chassis and container. John had samples of those at the Amherst show. In fact, if you go on YouTube and do a quick search, there's a couple of interviews with John, our lead product developer, showing that model. I don't think we have an ETA on it just yet because we are working out some of the finer details on that model. So stay tuned for that. As far as the Norfolk Southern or any SD70s at this point, we are doing some upgraded tooling on them. So delivery is going to be a little bit longer than what we expected. We don't have an ETA for you at this time, but we wanted to take the opportunity to update those models for what you would expect from an Athearn Genesis model. So stay tuned to our social media and we'll try to provide updates when we have them. What is the latest on the Mack truck licensing? I wish I had an answer for you right now. All I can tell you is it's in lawyer land, which basically means our guys are talking to their guys. I don't have any updates for you now, but you are not alone in wanting the Mack license. I need them in N scale for my layout. That's my thing. And I know I'm not the only one that wants Mack. Let's see what else we've got. There's a couple of product suggestions I see in there. Remember, you can always go to Athearn-product suggestion at athearn.com to place your suggestions. Good suggestions, so go ahead and put them in there. Doesn't mean they're guaranteed that they'll get done, but it's always better than not trying at all. Mr. Wood says, hey, Jim, will there be any diesel locomotives made with headlights in the nose? This feature is found on ICG, LNN, and SCL and CSX locos and BNSF. Remember, we talked about those BNSF GP38-2s. I believe it was 2077 as a nose headlight. So yeah, it just depends. If it's an Athearn Genesis, it's going to be based on the prototype. And if the prototype had a nose-mounted headlight, then so will the model. Let's see what else we've got here. Mr. Wagner or Wagner, depending on how you want to say his name, says, I actually have two older Athearn Boston and Maine Bicentennial GP38-2s. The real one, which I saw at White River Junction, Vermont, 1975, was one of the nicest red, white, and blue locos. Also liked some others. Funny you say that. I was actually down the road when that locomotive was parked at Potter Place. If you're a Boston and Maine fan, you know where Potter Place is. Potter Place is no more a town, it's a ghost town. But back then they still had a post office and a depot, and they were there taking on water. It was on display along with the Boston and Maine Bicentennial PS1, I believe, boxcar. Sid, trust me, you don't want an HO scale me. At least let me shed a few more pounds before we have somebody make a miniature of me in HO or N. I'm going to put this in here for Brent. He says, Jim, but this is really directed to everybody that I work with at Athearn. Says, Jim, keep up the great work. It's great to see the development at Athearn Train Tuesday and also enjoy listening. It's nice to see you've gotten very comfortable doing these. Thank you, Brent. I can't take the credit for all that. I work with a great team of developers and creative artists. And of course, my boss is amazing. We have a good time and we do a lot of work. And a lot of these developments that you see, like the lit number boards, the classification lights, that's directly because of you. Modelers have spoken, and we want to listen and make sure that we're making the best models we can for you. All right, I'm going to do one more question, and then I'm going to let you guys get back to some modeling. This is actually one of my favorite times of year because I don't feel guilty about not being outside. I can spend hours on my layout, and right now on the HO layout, I'm busy soldering drops to my turnouts and to my main line. I don't have to worry about, oh, should I mow the lawn? Should I do this? Should I do that? No, because winter is the perfect time to work on your layouts. Scott Kelly wants to know, are the Texarkana 60 foots in production yet? No, they are not. I did talk to John at the Amherst show, and he said he is working on some of the refinements of that model as well. It's going to be one of those things that when we get all of these refinements done, you're going to start seeing a lot more stuff slowly coming out. Now we're going to try to keep you posted as to when those are coming out. And that reminds me too, if you have not done so, sign up for the Athearn newsletter. It comes into your inbox every Friday about 3 o'clock or so. And what that does, it lets you know what pre-orders are open. It lets you know what's coming soon. And it also lets you know what's in stock. So we're going to let you know when a lot of these projects are on the way. That way you can better budget. All right. We're going to leave with this one. Mr. Steve says, will there be any CPKC locos in the future? I think that's a safe bet. I think you've got some stuff coming that's going to make you very, very happy. All right, with that, I see Christopher's asking about ETA on the RTR F59s. Again, those are looking like April, May. Keep an eye on our newsletter as soon as you start seeing pictures on our website and as soon as you start seeing something in the newsletter that will tell you. We also post it on social media, but we know that not everybody does social media, and that's fine. That's why we have the newsletter. So there we have it. Well, it's been a great night. I'm glad we could get together and do this. I hope I got you excited about these new GP38-2s. I'm certainly going to add one to my collection. I know you probably will too. Until next time, I want everybody out there to be happy, be healthy, do some modeling. It's wintertime. Until next time, high greens, everyone.